the hope that these are going to pull through and survive. So it does make sense to take your time and plant them really, carefully and intentionally. We do pay for all of these, and obviously there's a cost, environmental cost associated with the containers. And I'm going to save these and reuse these. So as we're doing it, let's just try and, first of all, try not to break them, but second of all, let's try and collect them all at the end so that we have them. The plastic is now finally recyclable, but reusing it is obviously a better option than recycling it. It uses less energy, and you still get the container at the end. So basically, you're just going to take your shovel. You don't need to really necessarily dig a hole because it's tiny. It just needs like a wedge cut into the ground. We can plant these up to within like 1.5 feet, 18 inches of one another and other plants. These are going to grow and they're going to be roughly around this size. And we'd rather have these things competing with one another than have them competing with the blackberry. So planting them dense is good. It also means that as we start planting, we're going to want to be careful and really deliberate about where we're standing. So maybe when we're walking from one place to another, we'll have to focus our eyes on the ground and just be careful not to step on any of them. So if I was going to plant that guy, you can see he's about, he's as deep as the test tube itself, or it's not a test tube but a cone, but the shovel's much deeper than that. So I'm just going to use my shovel and step into the ground, and I'm going to kind of just open a little bit of a wedge. I might even take and flip the shovel around and do it the other way so that I actually get a cavern. And I want to make sure that it is open enough. I'm going to take my tube, I'm going to gently squeeze it a little bit. If there are roots that are coming through, you can just kind of shed them off, like you can just make it so that they don't prevent it from sliding out. These little tubes are actually created for what's called air pruning. So when the roots hit the air, they usually just die off, and that causes the roots that are inside the tube to split, and it makes a more fibrous root system that's within the cone shape. So I'm going to slide that out, and it looks like a carrot. And we want to keep the roots pointing downward like that as much as possible. So I might use a stick to kind of just make sure that I've got a nice straight down hole. And I'm not going to force that plug in. If this got stuck somewhere, I would pull it out and use a stick again to kind of make sure that the hole is clear. I don't want the roots to go in and curve up. That's called J-rooting. It's not very healthy for the plant. This one went in really easily right here. Sometimes if you get it out of the tube and the roots are kind of loose, you might use a stick to make the hole straight again, but you might use a finer stick to kind of like make sure that the roots all go down. So as you're fishing it in, you're kind of using this to push the roots down. That's only if it comes apart. This one has stayed together really well, and it's just like slide it in, and then I'm going to kind of hold it. I'm going to make sure there's like a level of dirt that's associated with where the plant was in the tube. Try and keep that the same level as where you planted. So I just use my foot and I kind of start to squish the mud in. Once I get it kind of pinched in and I like the height of it, I can kind of stomp a little bit harder and just make sure that there's contact. I'm going to make sure that my plug is sitting even with the ground. If anything, it's good to have it a slight bit high than it is a slight bit low. If you plant it a slight bit low, you run the risk of drowning the plant, quite literally. There is some gas exchange that occurs right at the top of the where the root mass is. So this one is in the ground. I can do a little tug. It's not coming out. We're lucky for the moisture here because the moisture will make sure that the soil on the ground is connected. It'll kind of settle down and make it so that there's no air pockets. We want to avoid air pockets. That's bad for the roots. So that's how you plant one of these. We're gonna kind of be as random as we can with the mixing in of the species so that we can see how they do. After planting that there, we want to pay attention to where kind of the main walkway is so that people don't go walking through an area that was planted. So maybe stay away from this kind of corridor that goes right through the middle of the site and instead plant on the edges. if I was going to keep going here, I'd probably put another one here, 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 you know, kind of staggering them out. I'm trying to avoid straight lines, but you'll make straight lines because you're all human. But basically keeping them at least this far away from the plants next door. And that includes existing